Hi friends, my name is Debbie, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Have you ever wondered how to take your flat landscape to a different level? Today I'm going to show you in this video how to do that. We're going to be doing a lot of layers, a lot of texture, and a lot of techniques. So for this one, make sure you stick around till the end so you get all the tips and tricks. I'm going to be using 100% cotton paper, my Paul Rubens paint set, and just to remind you, I do not paint realistic. This is just a reference photo to inspire me to paint. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off by putting our water first. So we're getting clean water, and I'm using a quill brush. This one holds a lot of water, so it's beautiful for getting a lot of space. As you can see, we're going to start off by putting our clouds. So I did a mix of ultramarine blue and some burnt umber, 50%, 50%, and really light on the color. Not too much pigment, lots of water. And I'm just wiggling my brush. Whatever I see the dark part of the cloud, that's where I'm going to add more pigment. And then the other ones is just a blending motion. So we add our gray first, and then you clean your brush, go back to your paper, and try to blend all the gray paint that you put on the paper. So every time you go back, clean your brush and just blend it. And this is going to give you this beautiful fluffy clouds. And this is the first layer. Like I said, we're going to be working on a lot of layers. So don't worry too much about how the first layer is going to look. We will go back to it and add some more details. But for now, we're just adding some clouds here and there. Whatever you see, the darkest part, that's your shadow. And the lightest part is where the sun is hitting the cloud. Now you get a nice piece of napkin and just roll it, and we're gonna bring some highlights back into the sky. This is gonna give you these beautiful highlights inside the clouds that is gonna make your clouds look so nice and beautiful. For this part of the painting, I'm just getting my yellow ochre with a lot of water. I would say 90% water, 10% pigment, and I'm just bringing this all the way down to where my tape is. Make sure you tape your paper. It looks more professional when you do so. For this part here, for these lines, I just added some of my more of the burnt umber, just a touch, and into the yellow ochre, and just bringing those lines down for that perspective. And then I'm adding some sienna in some areas where I see some of the redness inside the grass, and I'm just adding that to the wet paper. So when you're working on wet paper, your paint is gonna spread, it's gonna move, and that's the beauty of watercolor. So we're just gonna let the paint move its way. If it gets too much out of control, don't worry, just clean your brush, go back to it, and just wipe off any excess paint. Any paint that is moving around too much and the way you don't want it, just clean it with your brush and dab it on the paper towel. Make sure you're going in those lines and keep some of the highlight, the first layer that we applied. We want to keep some of that color in some areas just for the highlights. And as you see, I clean my brush, I go back onto the paper, and I pick up any excess paint just to bring those highlights back into my grass and to my field. You can use any brush that you have. You don't have to go and buy a special brush. If you have a number 6, that's fine. Number 8 would work perfect. And just bringing those highlights back into the paper. Like I said, when the paper is wet, the paint is going to move a little bit, so we're just bringing those highlights back into the paper. Now I'm adding some of my sap green in some areas where I see there is some green grass, just barely few lines here and there, not too much. We don't want to overwhelm the whole paper. And my paper is getting dry. Um, it's applying fine for me, but if your paper is way too much on the dry side, just add some more water and then you can go ahead and apply the sap green. Again, I'm going back to my sienna, and I'm just adding those red marks that I see on the field, just few areas. And my paper is dry, so the paint is staying in the place where I'm putting it, but that is fine. It's just giving more texture to your field. Then I'm going back to the background and I'm putting the sap green first. Really light on the color. Applying this in some areas where I see this beautiful green, light green. And just going around your hay as much as you can. I'm gonna be adding the masking fluid because I don't want my hay to get different colors. I want to keep it nice and white, so I will be applying that onto my hay. Now for this part of the field, I see bushes, so I'm gonna be using sap green. Then I added some ultramarine blue, so I have about 3 to 4 different greens. So I have a light green, a medium green, a dark green, and a super dark green. And that's just to give you more texture when you add different layers of greens. It's just make your painting look more realistic, and that's what we want. We want to bring it from flat to more dimensional. So in this part here, I'm applying my medium green, and that was just the sap green with some ultramarine blue. And I'm just using the tip of the brush as I go, pressing on the paper, wiggling the brush, and just doing this super easy motion is gonna make your bushes or trees pop even more. Just use the tip of the brush, do not press too much, it's easier that way. And then we're bringing some of the darker green and we're gonna put it in some areas, and because the paint is still wet, it's gonna spread. Then I'm using the tip of the brush to make some leaves for this tree over here. Picking up some more paint, and you can always mix. You can add some of the sap green, then you can pick up some cadmium yellow, apply it in some areas, and it's gonna blend and it's gonna give you those beautiful highlights into your bushes. And make sure you wiggle your brush as you go. That's gonna give you more texture on your paper, and it's gonna give you this kind of leaves looking textures. So just place those in some areas where you see those bushes in the back, all the way back, keeping those lines nice and straight. And I'm just wiggling my brush. Really, really simple. And if I'm going too fast, make sure you pause the video. You can always go back whenever you're ready. Take a break, take a big breath. And this is supposed to be relaxing. You're not supposed to be stressed out. When you're painting, you're supposed to be having a good time. Enjoy when you are painting. So if I'm going fast, just pause the video and go back to it when you're ready. Now I'm adding some of my medium green and some of my darker green. And I'm just using the tip of the brush again, just putting those marks inside the bushes, making that line on the bottom more on the darker side because that's going to give you more definition. And just wiggle the brush as you go. So friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel I have a lot of videos for different things. I have flowers, I have landscapes, I have buildings. Pretty much I cover everything, so please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you have your notification on, so every time I post a video, you will be notified. You will be the first one to know what's out there. Make sure you give it a like. Every time you give it a like, it helps this channel grow. And if you want me to paint something different that you haven't seen, just let me know in the comments and I will be more than happy to help you. Now I'm adding some more of my darker green in this part here, pretty much the bottom of the bushes. That's where I see the darkest green. So I'm just applying those. And remember, the paint's still wet, so it's gonna move, and that's what we like. Bringing this line all the way to the hay. And then I'm moving to the other side, just adding the sap green in some areas. Just using the tip of the brush. Now I get a credit card or anything that is hard, and we're gonna make some lines inside the bushes. This is gonna give you beautiful highlights, and so you don't have to use like bleed proof white or anything like that, like acrylics. This technique is gonna give you these beautiful marks inside, and it's gonna look like it's the trunks of the trees. It's giving you these beautiful marks inside, those highlights back into the paint. So it is really easy technique, and it gives so much texture. And you can do this technique with grass, or you can do it with your trees. You can do it with bushes. There is a lot of things that you can use this technique. And really simple, just make those line marks. Make sure you're not pressing too hard, because you could kind of cut or scrape off your paper. We don't want to do that. We want to keep the paper nice and neat. I'm going back to this part here, and then I'm going to be adding some salt. And the salt is going to give you more texture. Like I said, you're going to bring this flat landscape into a more 3D kind of look. So we're gonna let the salt dry completely, then we will remove it. Going back to the right hand side where the mountains are, I'm just adding my medium green, wiggling the brush here and there, some places, just to make believe that there's some trees in the background, and that's what I'm trying to do. When I wiggle and I get these tiny little dots here and there, it's just give more dimension to your painting. Going back to this side, I'm using my darker green. This is just sap green with a lot of ultramarine blue. If you do not have ultramarine blue, you can use paint gray, and it will give you the same darker green. Then moving to this part, making those lines for the field. Make sure you keep all the lines in a position that is going to give you this perspective that is all the way in the background. Keep wiggling the brush as you go. That's going to give you more texture, and this is what makes your landscape look more natural. Remember, when a landscape looks flat, it's because you don't have too many layers, or you don't have too many textures. So this is one of the ways to bring your painting to a more realistic place. By doing more layers and more textures, the more textures you add to your painting, the more beautiful the painting is gonna look at the end. So I'm just adding some more of the sienna color right here in this part of the field, filling in the space. And I'm just using the tip of the brush, putting those little dots in there. Then I applied the tape just to make sure this line is going to be nice and straight. And I'm putting my darkest green. So that's the sap green with the ultramarine blue. More ultramarine blue than sap green, just to make it darker. And then I'm bringing this up. I'm just flicking the brush, bringing some more texture inside the bushes using my dry brush technique, which is another beautiful technique that gives you a lot of textures on your landscapes. Just putting some more water in this part of the field and just using the number 3, putting some of the sap green, and I'm putting also some of my sienna, which I mixed before with my yellow ochre. So it's really light, not too much pigment. We want to keep this area nice and light, just bringing some marks to kind of represent where the grass is. And if it gets too dark, you can always go back with a paper towel, pick up some of the pigment, or you can apply some water, and then you can take a paper towel and wipe off any excess. Remember, you're supposed to have fun when you're painting, so just try to relax when you're painting. Don't stress out too much if it's looking too realistic or not. It's okay. It doesn't have to look like the picture. The picture is just a reference photo to get inspired, and we just make it our own. So it's just to give you an idea, the painting you're going to be doing, but it doesn't have to be the exact same. That would be too much stress on yourself. So I'm just bringing those lines, marks onto the field, making those grass showing up in here. And again, this is just the sienna and yellow ochre, making those tiny little marks. And you can do as many as you want or as little as you want. Just make sure you keep some of the highlights in between. As you see in the reference photo, there's some nice yellow marks in there, so we want to keep those highlights in there. Remember, I'm also on Instagram, so you can follow me over there too, under the same name, Debbie's Art Journey, for more content, more videos. And I'm just keep adding those lines into the field, bringing those all the way to the front. There's some areas that are darker than others, so I'm just adding some more of the brown. Then I went ahead and add a layer of the yellow ochre, just like 1 inch above the tape, and then I'm adding some salt to give some more texture to the front. We're gonna let that salt dry completely, and then we're gonna remove it. We're gonna paint the hay. So for this one, I did yellow ochre and sienna, and I'm just applying this first layer really light. Then I'm adding some of the sienna just to make those marks that represent the hay. Nothing crazy. We don't want it too dark. We want to make sure it's on the lighter side. We can always go back and add some more details. I added some salt for more texture. Again, we're trying to work this flat landscape and bring it to a more realistic landscape. So by doing textures and different techniques, that's going to give you a better look, a more realistic and organic look. Now I decided to add some more grass to the front, just to give some more texture and more definition. And this is the burnt umber and some of the yellow ochre. Just applying this with my liner brush. If you don't have a liner brush, just get a very thin brush, maybe like a 00 or 01, and then just add in those line marks in there. Then I made a mix of my yellow ochre and I added some bleed proof white just to bring some highlights back into the grass. And you can do this as many times as you want or as little as you want. Remember, this is your painting, you make it your own. I'm just giving you an example how I would paint this, but this is your painting, so you can put as much or as little as you want. Back to the hay, just using the same color that I applied for the front. Just filling in the space. And then we will be adding some more texture to this part. Now I'm putting another layer of my yellow ochre just to give some more highlight into the hay. Remember to remove the salt before you add this layer. And then I'm putting a highlight inside the hay. I'm just removing some of the paint, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my burnt umber, and I'm going to go in the circle, giving some of the more definition to the hay, bringing this hay back into the foreground. And we're going to do this to all of the hay. And then I'm just wiggling the bottom piece because the hay is sitting on the grass, so we don't want a perfect circle on the bottom. We want some kind of wiggle in there. And now I did a mix of ultramarine blue and burnt umber, and this is my shadow color. So it's gonna be 50%, 50%, a lot of water. This is supposed to be really, really light. Now I'm picking up the burnt umber and I'm going in circles, making some line marks that represent the hay just to give some more texture. Remember, this is not a flat landscape, this is a more realistic one. So we're adding more texture to our items in the field. Then I'm doing some dry brush technique. This is when you pick up paint and you don't put any water to your brush, just the paint. And make sure your brush is completely flat on the paper and scrape off the paper. And that's gonna give it this beautiful texture on your hay. Then we're gonna add some more to the side and bring in some more marks onto the center of the hay. You can pick up some of the paint in case you put too much. Just have a paper towel near you, and you can remove the paint. Now I'm doing some dry brush technique, and I'm adding some of my sap green. Just few places here and there. As you see in the reference photo, there's some green in the foreground, so I'm just applying that in there. And then I decided to add some more clouds to the sky. I feel like we could add some more texture, more definition. So I went ahead and add some more of the gray. And remember, every time you add the gray, you clean your brush, go back to it, and just blend it. We don't want hard marks. We want everything to be nice and blended. So clean your brush as you go back to your paper, and just wiggle your brush in circles, and it's gonna give you these beautiful clouds that you see over here. Blend any of the edges. And you can apply as many times as you want. You can put as many clouds as you want. And I'm just trying to make this area on the darker side like I see in the reference photo. So that's what I'm trying to put, some more gray here, some more definition in that. Then I'm adding some of my Serenium blue just to bring that blue sky back into the background. Just few places. And then some of the blue on the center. Really light on the color. We don't want a darker blue because this is more like a kind of like a rainy day. Then I took my yellow ochre and I added some of my bleed proof white just to make it on the lighter side, and I'm just bringing some more highlights into my hay. Just going here around the hay, few places, picking up some marks just to bring those highlights back in it. The more details you add to your landscape, the better it's gonna look, the more realistic it's gonna look, more organic and less flat. So this is how you make it pop, by adding textures, by adding techniques and more details. And I'm just putting some marks in some areas. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Hay is not perfect. So whatever you put your highlights is gonna be just fine. Then I decided to use the same color and just add some more highlights onto the foreground where I put the grass previously, and just making those marks in there. So pretty much we're done. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like, and I will see you on my next one. Take care, friends. Bye bye for now.